to Bob or on stage, you knew it. You could feel it. You could feel it all over him. These are all very, very rare qualities, I think. And all combined in one person. And then, of course, his famous voice. Both of his parents were vocal teachers, and not actors, but they were singers and vocal teachers. His brother was a choir director and musical director as well. So Bob was not a singer, but he grew up with his voice and created his voice and was born with it, and then he worked on it. And so he had all these qualities, and beyond that, as you all know, he was an amazing show-off. Amazing. He just wanted to get out there and show up. As Danny Bristol was saying to me the other night, sometimes Bob had trouble finding his lines, but he never had trouble finding the line. And he did. I mean, the entire stage would be dark, and you'd look over there, and there was a light. Amazing. And he started, as I say, and he started to get better, and he started to get better, and he was always good, and he started to get better, and he got better as I looked over this list. Of course, we all know his Christmas Carol, which he did at least a half a dozen times, the better part of a decade, and I kept changing the versions for him, you know. So sometimes he'd do it with kids, and sometimes he'd do it with a whole cast, and sometimes he'd do it with 3 actors, and sometimes with 2, and sometimes all by himself. And each time, each time he was a definitive Scrooge, I felt, you know. I just felt he had that arrogance, power, and that enjoyment of his own sadism, on stage that Scrooge has, and his own wit. And then very quickly, he was shattered as he revisited his past, and he became like a baby again. And he became totally open to watching these experiences and growing until finally, you know, he on Christmas morning, he was able to kind of completely be reborn in childhood and joy. And it was a stunning performance, I thought, and beautifully spoken, beautifully played, beautifully felt. And we got to see it over and over again. And I never got tired of it. I never got tired of seeing it at school. And I must have seen him 700 times. So, but I do think that his crowning role was King Lear. And he kept badgering me about that for years. And I kept saying no. You know, and we would all go home, Bob Pinney, you know, not really, not that, you know, and not this turkey vulture, but and he did King Lear, you know. We finally thought, well, maybe this is actually a good idea. And he really did King Lear. I mean, that was a really great performance. And I feel very fortunate to have witnessed that. And I think that I remember one moment, several times actually. I mean, Beth remembers King Lear when the 70th birthday, right, in the tent, and thunder rattling around, and it was his 70th birthday, was it? Or something like that? Yep. And there it was. It was like all the heavens conjoined, you know, just on that night. And it was a spectacular night. But I remember looking up sometimes in the 4th act and seeing him being carried off the stage in this very long 4th act, which Shakespeare subjects you to the unbearable, to bearing the unbearable, in a very beautiful, a very unbearable way. And we do bear it. And watching Bob suffer and suffer and suffer and go crazy and suffer, and he was hardly wearing any clothes, and I thought his body was beautifully expressive, and I saw him. I guess my most vivid memory of Bob is him being carried off by Chris Moon and Michael Preston in that 4th act, being carried off stage. Kind of draped himself around him, just let himself kind of be hauled off. His face was tormented. I looked up and I just thought, well, this is really beautiful. This is like something out of Piero della Francesca. This is like an Italian Renaissance painting. This is like the Stations of the Cross. And he just somehow inhabited this role in such a deep way that I was just privileged to witness it, and kept being privileged. And then, you know, Bob did what a lot of old actors do after King Lear. You know, he did the Cherry Orchard. He played that beautifully too, and he played these small roles sometimes very beautifully. And Lady in the Commuters, a play and a role that no one really remembers, but I do, because I was creating this project, and I needed Bob to play an old roue, you know, an old Parisian gentleman. And I always wondered, perhaps some of you else had too, about Bob's sexuality, which was always a big question mark, you know. And I just didn't know what that was, you know. And it wasn't usually part of his stage performance, and he was quite a private person. And so I didn't know, but I wanted him to play this old roue who squires around a very slinky young French girl and is very proud of her. And all of a sudden, Bob just showed up as Saint-Gaudin. And he was in an elegant suit that Betty had put him in, and he stood there, and the light was on him, and he was beaming away, and he was possessive of this young woman, and very generous, and completely Parisian, and I'd never seen that before. And it just, materialized. It was just right there. And I just thought, wow, you know, thank you, you know, and he was always paying attention to everything that he did on the stage. He did some staggering, preposterous things. In The Tempest, which we did in the Pikes Peak Center with the music of Jean Sibelius, and it was an epically tormented production that we had to get together with a whole symphony orchestra. And we had drapes by Rick Young, huge, enormous drapes of the music, dancers, and everything else. It was hair-raising. We had like 10 days to do it. Bob was having terrible troubles with his lines. I was furious with him. Of course, pulled it off. But on the last night, he cut out 3 pages. We're walking along the script, I'm back in the booth, and I'm looking at it, I'm holding on, he cut out 3, what happened? You know, 3 pages went by, and nobody missed a beat. He didn't miss a beat, the players didn't miss a beat, he just kept going, the show kept going, nobody noticed except us who were having heart attacks. He could get away with things, and no actor I know could get away with it. He could go up in Shakespeare, and he frequently did, and still keep talking some rubbishy version of it. He went in Death of a Salesman. Some of you have heard this story. He kind of a spoonerism or something. He went back. He came out and he said he was playing Uncle Ben, the rich uncle, the cruel rich uncle, successful uncle, Willie Roman's uncle. And he came out in his white suit, his umbrella, and his hat, and he said, "By God," he said, "you know, when I went into the jungle," he said, "I was 26. And when I came out, I was 17. And I was rich." The amazing thing was, I was sitting in the back of the Wire Auditorium when this happened, and I heard it happen, and I was just like stunned. And the amazing thing was, because it was Bob Pinney bringing everything he had to it, nobody laughed. Nobody I know could do that. You know, and they always got away with it. It was. I could go on forever, but I won't. I'm going to stop right now, I think. But I will say, you know, I think we're going to invite all of you, or any of you, who don't want us to become King Bear. So I invite all of you who do want to come up and say a few things about Bob Pinney. I hope you will, and I hope you'll keep it short and not nearly as long as me, and that you will say a few things, and then we'll walk around and have refreshments. Before we do that, once we finish, people saying if they do have something to say, if you want to say it out here instead of in the lobby, sharing it with friends, whatever you want to do, will be fine. But I do want to show you before we end a little clip from give us a little bit of Bob really acting. And there's a sort of grainy clip from perhaps last tape that I would like to see, the very end of last perhaps tape, that I think would be a good way to see Bob one last time on stage. So we'll take a look at that. But after all of you have had a chance, that's the way I think for us to exit. I saw Bob quite often, but not nearly often enough, after he stopped working on the stage. Fortunately, he fell into the hands of the blessed angel, Joel Austria, who is here. And Joel was his daily caretaker, saw him all the time, looked after Bob, and did so in the most wonderful and generous and loving way, and made Bob's last year